So it kept me up at night that I still haven't published my video review on the HIDIZS MS5. I had this for quite a few weeks now, and I just felt the need to share this with you. Those are really awesome. This is a pair of in-ear monitors or IEMs priced at $399 US, which is, as you'll see, a very good pricing for them. They have one dynamic driver and 4 balanced armatures. 2 balanced armatures for the bass, 1 for the mid-range and 1 for the treble. The balanced armatures are made in Europe by Sony, and the dynamic driver is something unique made by HIDIZS. I never knew how you are supposed to pronounce this. HIDIZS, I don't know. But the company has become quite popular lately. My videos on HIDIZS products are some of the best viewed, so I'm quite enthusiastic whenever I review one of their products. I've been postponing to make the video review for them, and I don't even know why. It makes no sense because they are so awesome, and upon hearing them today, I decided to quickly write the full written review, and as you'll see, it is a really good review. But why did I miss reviewing them? Probably because they look so stealthy. They don't look like they would be so special. They are the first pricier EM that HIDIZS has made, so I wasn't sure if they were going to make it, but man, did they make it. Starting with the build, we have one of the thickest cables that I've seen around. It is not springy, it doesn't carry microphonic noise, but it is quite thick, so it is quite heavy too. The cable has very tight coiling around of your ear, which might be a comfort concern for the MS5, so it will sit very snugly in your ear, but this also means that they will never fall out, they never feel uncomfortable, they just stay in your ears all day long. The default tips are quite hard for my ears, so I've replaced the default tips during my listening sessions with DD Hi-Fi tips. I prefer the DD Hi-Fi tips for most EMs, they just work better for my ears, and DD Hi-Fi tips have worked greatly for me. The said cable is detachable and based on the 2-pin connector, which is a very standard connector that we all like and love. The cable has one silver-plated connector and one copper connector, and it is ended sadly in a 3.5mm single-ended jack. There is no option to purchase those with a balanced jack, which I think is a bit unfortunate. The wearing comfort is excellent. Despite them having a very tight coiling around of your ear, the shells are very ergonomic, they are small, and they just sit nicely in my ear. I never feel uncomfortable while wearing them. They also provide quite a bit of passive noise isolation. They have between 22 and 28 decibels of passive noise isolation, which is extremely high. And when I first looked at the design, I thought that they will be a semi-open design, but the EM shells don't have any kind of opening. I can see the opening for the dynamic driver, it is on the back of the shell, so you get no driver flex, no void while inserting them, and they just worked out really nice. Now, the comfort is really good, and they have 5 ohms of impedance, which is a problem and should be a big problem, but I haven't heard any kind of hissing with either FIO K9 Pro or Matrix Mini i Pro 4, so the hissing is not a problem. I don't know how, because at 5 ohms they are supposed to hiss like crazy with desktop sources, so that is nice. I think that either they are isolated well, or both FIO K9 Pro and Matrix Mini i Pro 4 have either a low output impedance or they are well designed and have eliminated hissing from their sound. The sound of the HIDIZS MS5 is incredible, and I will be honest with you, I have kept you in the dark about them for no real reason. They sound incredible. The sound is so pleasing and so fun and so enjoyable that today, when writing the full written review, I have awarded them a place in the Audiophile Heaven Hall of Fame. This is how nice they sound. So they have this really deep, really playful bass that is really rounded and really punchy. The bass goes really low. You get all of the impact and all of the resolution in the bass, which I think is incredible. Hearing the bass is quite incredible. The bass also doesn't extend to the upper bass, so the bass ends at about 75 Hz, where you don't get any more bass. You get a slight recess in the bass after that region, but below 75 Hz you get a very increased amount of bass, which means that every single instrument has a very strong fundamental, every single instrument has a very strong outline, very strong presence, and a very punchy presentation. You get every single guitar chord to punch you, to resonate with the bass, to resonate in the lows as well as in the mids. And I think this is not exactly natural. This is not how music sounds in nature, but it is much more pleasing than it is live as presented by MS5. They really give music a playful, joyful kind of presentation. The signature is basically U-shaped, so the sub bass and the upper treble are both uplifted, while the mid-range and the upper bass, lower mid-range, higher mid-range, and even lower treble are all recessed compared to the sub bass and the higher treble. This means that they don't sound metallic or harsh or fatiguing, yet I think that there is a very slight sense of W, so the voices and the presence in the mid-range is very good. I never felt like voices were too distant, I always felt like voices were present. Guitars in particular sound really juicy, really vivid and really pleasing out of the MS5, and just every single instrument has such a nice detail, such a nice resolution, and music in general just sounds clean, it just sounds alive, it just sounds forward, but not in a bad way. It sounds forward like you are hearing it in real life. And I've enjoyed them for 5 to 6 hours today alone. This is how much I've enjoyed the signature. It's like they are tuned perfectly for my taste. This kind of U-shaped signature that is done responsibly, without making the treble too harsh or too bright, without making the bass overpowering, but giving it enough edge and enough power to outline every single instrument. This is really nice. Every single instrument has a strong contrast, which means that you can pick up individual instruments from a composition really easily. We typically consider this to be a strong instrument separation, and I think that HIDIZS MS5 has a very strong instrument separation. They have a wide soundstage that extends well both in width and in depth. They sound so good. Like, this is one of my favorite sounding EMs. They do come with tuning filters, and right now I have the copper or red gold filter applied, but they do come with a red filter, which is all about the bass and the rolls of the treble, if you can find the treble to be a bit fatiguing. And there is also a silver filter that filters out the bass and leaves more treble in the mix, but I think that the copper or rose gold filter is better. It sounds more balanced and it is generally more pleasing. The filters have quite a bit of an impact on the sound, but as I said, I wouldn't go beyond using the balanced filter. It just sounds so good with this one. HIDIZS also boasts about using a stronger solder inside that has gold in the mix so that it will never corrode. You should be able to use those for years to come, which I really like. I like at least the promise, even though you may grow bored of them and even though you may want to upgrade them down the line, they should be usable for quite a few years. As I said, although wearing them is comfortable, comparing them to other EMs is not quite as comfortable because there is so much competition in this price range, so $399 is not a price range that is empty. It is one of the price ranges that has the most competition in, because although the entry level always sees new EMs released, they are all not great. So if you are in the entry level range, even if they are superb for the price paid, they will never be a true flagship. No EM in the entry level range will be a flagship. They will be great, they will be fun to use. You will be able to use them for up to a year or even 2 years, but after that you'll grow bored and you'll go to the next entry level EM. While with a mid-ranger like the HIDIZS MS5, you may be able to use this for quite a few years before ever getting bored. I think that I'm getting more fun and excitement out of it than I was getting out of the Sennheiser EA800 years ago, because this one follows a very similar U-shaped signature that I tend to enjoy, so I have a bit of a bias because I like this kind of signature, but it does it much better. It increases the amount of bass they have, but also pushes the voices more forward, so that you never feel that instruments and voices are pulled back from you. You always hear them present. You never have to crank up the volume to hear the voices better. This means less fatigue for your ears and also less fatigue in the treble. And of course, they don't have a fatiguing treble to begin with. So you can see where I'm going with this. Very pleasing, very natural kind of signature that is not necessarily as you'd hear instruments in reality, but it is a really pleasing presentation. I think that the closest competitor would be the unique melody 3DT, which is a very wide sounding EM. I think that 3DT is really great. It is an interesting EM that has a really wide soundstage. They sound wider than the MS5. The MS5 even sounds a bit intimate compared to the 3DT. But 3DT is quite bright, it can be harsh, it can sound metallic at times, and it can be quite overpowering in the treble. It doesn't have a lot of sub-bass compared to the MS5, which has much more bass and much more sub-bass. This one is more pleasing for EDM, for rock, for metal, for pop, and for most commercial music. I think that 3DT is really good if you want a really bright tuning, and Unique Melody in general has very bright tunings. So 3DT is great if you go for bright. MS5 is great if you go for a natural, clean sound with a somewhat W shape. I think that I would start calling them W-shaped instead of U-shaped. And if you want to hear both voices, bass and treble, if you don't want anything to miss from your sound, well, 3DT will take the bass out, will give you more soundstage and will give you a more analytical sound, but it won't make it as playful and as enjoyable in the long run. Well, MS5 is enjoyable in the long run, and I like that. Another good competitor for the HIDIZS MS5 would be MacLeod Wave, and I think that the MacLeod Wave is great. It has a really strong bass, it has a medium treble, and it has a recessed midrange. I think that MS5 even has the same amount of bass as MacLeod Wave, if not even a bit more. MS5 tends to have a more detailed midrange, it tends to have a better instrument separation, and although it doesn't flow quite as freely as MacLeod Wave, which has a very smooth and very liquid kind of midrange, MS5 is incredibly pleasing when it comes to how the midrange is presented. Guitars always sound vivid, they always sound juicy, and you have some treble to give you excitement, to give you energy in music. While MacLeod Wave doesn't have that treble. MacLeod Wave relies only on the bass and on the midrange, which gives you a very smooth, woolly kind of sound, very full sound. MS5 sounds full, but it is not all about the fullness. It also has air, it also has balance, and I think this is how I would outline them, as a really balanced, really pleasing sounding EM that is incredibly fun to use in the long run. I wasn't aware that such a great EM existed in my collection already, so as I said, I skipped them for a few weeks without knowing how great they were. Now that I review them, I can't even stop listening to them. They are compatible with my setup already, so I don't have to use a very good source. I don't have to bring out the bad boys, I don't have to do anything. I can simply plug them in and enjoy them. And that is the beauty of the HIDIZS MS5. Now you may ask me if you should purchase it, and I should answer to you, it is up to you. Do you want a sound that is very full in the bass, and I mean really full, really powerful in the bass? A sound that has exceptional detail in the midrange, and a sound that is incredibly airy and has a very strong upper treble. Do you want all of those things? Do you want an EM that sits snugly in your ears but has a strong coiling around of your ear? And are you looking for a premium package? They have one of the best packages. If the answer to all of those questions is yes, then my friend, you really have to hear and get yourself a HIDIZS MS5. Those are indefinitely fun. They are really comfortable, and I think they'd be a great experience for you. I hope that this video has been a great experience as well. Don't forget, it would help me a lot if you could share the video, smash that like button, press subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope that you have enjoyed your time at Audiophile Heaven, and I hope we'll see each other really soon.